no other than D. Moss in effect. And D. Moss can recollect when his actually affiliation with Pamuso, the Black Pan African American Museum, when he actually was facilitating the Kwanzaa events down there. One of the first Kwanzaa events to be public live before they were actually doing them at City Hall. I know D. Moss was doing them at Palmuso. He's been a mainstay. He's brought kids down there doing tours. What's up, D. Moss?
Oh man, listen, just trying to stay busy and trying to, keep the cultural grind happening.
Mhm.
That's
No, I
about
was
it.
right though. With the affiliation with the Kwanzaa, I mean, you were one of the first ones in the city to bring that to the light to make it a citywide celebration. I remember you started
Yeah.
at the museum and then you went to
Actually,
this.
nah, actually, you almost right, but nah, my white was doing it. Miss White was doing it at American International College, and I remember,
No, I know that. I'm talking about your affiliation with Pamusa
oh,
Museum.
Pamusa, my
Yeah.
bad. Okay, I thought you said my Kwanzaa. I'm
No,
like,
my she been doing it when she had Heritage
yeah,
Corner, and they were doing Kwanzaa when we were little kids. I remember
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Actually, it's funny. I and we'll jump back into Pamusa. I was a young kid, and so you had to submit your name to be on Heritage Corner because they used to have the kids on there, and I never got on there, and I cried one day when I went to the studio and couldn't get on Heritage Corner. But that's like a mainstay in this community, and she was a staple at American International College. Her actually and her husband and stuff. So D. Moss affiliation with the museum, I can remember like yesterday when he had to, um, people like Mon White paved the way, but when he had the vision to make it a citywide celebration and continue the legacy when he came down to the museum. So talk a little bit about that.
oh man. Well, let me talk about the museum part. When I first started working downtown at City Hall, I had never worked in a predominantly white environment. So on the days when it got really stressed, I'd take a walk across the street to Tower Square before I met Miss Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I'd go by the museum, you try to feel the energy, man. They had this poster on the wall with Frederick Douglass. And it had a number of Frederick Douglass quotes on it. And I would sit there and I'd read that. And I'm like, yeah, you just soak in the energy,
Mm-hmm.
man. And then I'm out there one day and Miss Hood came out. We started talking. And if anyone's ever run across Miss Hood, Luana Hood, then you know exactly what took place after
Right,
that.
right, right.
It was long, deep, dope conversation about Black history, Black people, transatlantic slave trade, life pre-slavery, pre-slave trade,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So at that
Right.
point, we started talking about what we can do to kind of, you know, bring some programs because I had no idea it was up here, and I
Mm-hmm.
had been in Springfield for a while, man. No one had ever told me about the Pan African Historical Museum. So, one thing led to another. We started doing small things with Miss Hood, and then around, December came, and we decided to kind of coalesce on a Kwanzaa event. The rest was
Right.
history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true to word deal because I mean, and just to share a story, I was facilitating the rites of passage at the Boys and Girls Club, and one of the days, and I actually was next door to the Black Men of Greater Springfield. I remember like it was yesterday. And once again, rest in peace, Tony Malone. He was the one who was instrumental in getting me over there. And I was having some challenges with the administration over there at the time. I'm not gonna say any names or anything. So I was actually myself walking through Tower Square, and I came across the museum, and that's when
Right.
they had the three different major offices, the big offices.
Yep.
And I told her what I did, and she was like, "You why you doing rights pay? You need to bring it down here." And basically, 13 years of us doing rites of passage, we were actually doing it at the museum and stuff. So, great facility, great event to host events, and to the point where we were doing a lot of cultural, historical things. And now we back, and the reason why we have D. Moss on the show right now because it's actually taking it to another level now with some of the things that you're actually trying to bring down upon Muso right now. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I know one of the conversations I used to have with Miss Hood, similar to the conversation you're a board member, that conversations I've had with you and Sam Bradley is always the same. What do we need to do to kind of really get more bodies down there. And I mean, community folks. I know we have the schools that do field trips down there. Certain businesses bring their employees down there.
Right.
But in terms of getting the general public out down there, how can we work together to create events and create a safe space for black people to do black things?
Right.
And luckily, the board, Sam Bradley, Keaton, and all the folks, they were down with us doing programming. So we agreed to work on the first programs coming up. This actually tomorrow. It's Thursday, right?
Right. Thursday.
It's called Black Mothering, Journey to the Center of Our Families. I don't know about everybody else, but in my family, my mom was the center of everything.
Right.
And then my grandmothers on both sides were the center of everything, and their mothers before them. So when we talk about the center of our family, we talk about the plight of black women. We talk about the plight of single fathers. We always talk about this stuff in a negative capacity. So what we did was we put together a panel discussion called Black Mothering,
Nice.
Journey to the Black Family. And we're starting, the first session really focuses on black birthing mothers. For anybody who's ever looked at the data, we know it took place with Serena, the tennis player,
Right.
and how she almost died after giving birth.
Right.
So we're focusing on the birthing, the black birthing process. The mortality rate for birthing black mothers is probably the highest in the country. The mortality rate for newborn black babies, the highest in the country. So we have a professor from the University of Massachusetts coming down. We have a certified midwife, nurse/midwife coming in to talk. We have doulas, we have lactation technicians coming in to talk about breastfeeding. So we're really talking about the role of black mothers from day one.
Yeah.
We're looking at black mothering from an historical pre-America, well, I should say pre-slavery, because we've always been in America, but a pre-slavery perspective.
Right.
We're talking about the birthing process during the transatlantic slave trade, what happened on the boat, what happened on the plantations. As we begin to move north, how the value sets have begun to change in terms of how we birth and care for our newborns, and more importantly, care for the mothers that give birth to them. Right. So that whole panel session is going to revolve around that. I just think it's critical. I think it's key, and we're tapping into areas that we typically haven't discussed before. We're really talking about us.
Right. But historically, when you talk about that, I'm glad you brought that up, because on your panel, you're going to really get into the history of it. I know my mother and her siblings, they were all born out the house. And you mentioned
midwives.
And they all, most of them all were born healthy.
Yeah.
And all it was, you had the doctor was there. I know my mother used to tell me you had the doctor that was there to just verify that the birth was there. That's how the birth certificates were generated. And
Absolutely.
If you look at it, some of them were wrong because they were put into the wrong town.
They spelled the names wrong.
Man,
depending where you're from. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of that, but it's very good to hear the historical point, because as D-Moss mentioned earlier, I mean, there's a lot of issues with individuals such as us that look like us going and give birth. When we were doing it the natural way, and up to it, we had all it. My mother said they used to go out into the farm, and they would sit there and they would look at the sun and do all of that stuff and talk to the babies and all that, all that stuff like that. So it's good that you're doing it. So we kind of at the simple fact need to get back to a lot of our traditions, and that's kind of like what the doulas do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Doulas, midwives. The doulas are there. We know when we talk about racism and social justice, we always talk about policing departments, the police, state police, FBI, DEA. We always talking about it, or we talk about Ku Klux Klan members. And the folks we never talk about are the folks who walk around with stethoscopes, and they come with their racial biases and prejudices, and they're just as racist as some of the school teachers and police officers. Right. So when we talk about getting effective health service delivery, or we talk about equity in the healthcare field, man, we neglect to mention what happens to us when we go to hospitals. So doulas, they're there, they're advocates for you. They walk you through the process. They help you relieve any stress, and they're always there to help you to interact with medical care professionals. When they come in with their biases and their preconceived notions about black women and black babies, doulas are there to also, serve as an advocate and walk you through that process, interpret what's being said, and speak on your behalf. The same as you do when you work with young people, and you work with young people and you go before the school system and you're with a parent and you speak on their behalf, because sometimes the parents don't know what's going on. Right. The same thing happens in the healthcare industry. So doulas and midwives are so critically important when you're feeling something at home, a certain pain. Instead of having to call some doctor who's out in Wilbraham or Long Meadow, you're calling a doula who gets where you're coming from,
Right.
understands all the cultural cues, all the ancestral genetic cues, as they
Right.
would say.
Right.
And they can read into and tell you. It's like calling your grandmother when you're young, and she said, "Oh boy, nothing wrong with you. You only got A, B, and C."
Right. Right.
And they know everything. That you tell them the symptoms, and they
Not
find
only that, they give you a remedy too.
remedy. Doulas is pretty
Right.
much serving the same capacity as
Right.
somebody's grandma would.
Right.
So doulas are important. We have Laconia Fennell and Tanita Council from Springfield Family Doulas. We've done a lot of work with them. You know, my last two kids were born. They had when they were born, they had doulas, and Laconia
Right.
Fennell was the doula.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking phenomenal.
Right.
We have Chanel Ford, Vanessa Ford's daughter. She is a certified technician. Talks. It's all about breastfeeding.
Right.
You know, we talk. Breastfeeding is a taboo subject in the Black community.
Right.
You see somebody, pull their breast out and feed a baby. They, why you got to do that here?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you bring that up. When me and Justin Yard did the show, we talked about the milk and what you're supposed to drink. So technically, you're not really supposed to be drinking cow's milk. You're supposed to be drinking milk come from a human.
Yeah.
Because of the nutrients in it. You're supposed to be drinking the milk that comes from a human being. Like how outrageous that might sound, but it's the truth. That's what we talked about.
Oh, it's absolutely the truth.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that point up to clarify that and stuff, because people, I've seen people get offended when people are breastfeeding,
and it's like, we have this tendency, we here in this country, and tragically, we've been heavily influenced by Western culture. So we see a woman's breast, and folks get aroused. Oh my God, right. It's a breast, and it's like, no, it's a mammary gland, and the sole purpose is to feed and nurture babies. Right. So they're going to talk about that as we talk about it from a historical perspective. How the African woman's body has been sexualized and become a political tool. They're going to talk about all that and talk about why breastfeeding is important. When you talk about the breast, everything you just said, people have no idea the human body is so amazing. And I discovered this. I have a couple of older kids, but the younger kids, because of the doula, I found out that when you breastfeed, man, the body creates certain types of chemicals or certain formulas. It alters the formula based on what the baby needs. Right. Just that mouth on breast contact. And it's kind of like everything you need. It's like walking up to a soda fountain. I want orange, Pepsi, or whatever the case may be. Right. And I know women are probably going crazy because I'm saying this, but it's like, it's just so amazing the way the whole breastfeeding process works. We talk about the process of lactation and what that entails. It's amazing. So strongly encouraging people, come out tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It's free. We have Professor Lindawe Sabiko from UMass. She's an associate professor and interim department chair at University of Massachusetts. Adrian Hines is a certified nurse midwife at Trinity Health in New England. It's moderated by Victoria Rowe. She's also a lactation expert. So it's that part of the process. They're also going to address the issue of black men being involved in the birthing process.
Right.
Huge,
which is critical.
Huge,
because a lot of
critical.
times, what's happening right now, even with the youth, babies are being made, but there's no process with the male involved at all. So no connection, no storytelling, no talking with the male. So that's a critical piece.
Well, it's that, and then they're also going to talk about the misnomer of the absent black male. When you look at the data, when you look at the statistics, black men tend to be more supportive, more involved in the birthing process than any other racial or ethnic group. So we don't talk about that enough. Right. We see a single mother. Being a single mother doesn't mean that baby doesn't have an active father in his life.
So when you to before we get on to the other thing, you being part of that, the doula situation. And you being connected, because I'm pretty sure you did some things like had talked to the babies and why the baby was, in the stomach. Yeah. Do you feel that even with your kids, like I know your kids, like your older, do you feel there's a connection there that, like when they hear your voice that they ran to you? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Even with my older kids, I didn't do that. I wasn't that actively involved because I was a workaholic. I was always doing stuff in the community. But when they're around, they hear. Babies hear your voice, and to the point when they're born and they hear your voice, they turn their little heads because they identify and recognize the warmth in that voice. But now it's like with the three babies, with the three younger ones, it's completely different because you really have a better understanding of the development part of the process with babies and how you know you have to be there and why you need to be there.
Mm.
The sound of the voice, the touch when you touch the belly while they're in there, you see the
Right.
bodies move and shift.
Mm.
It's a beautiful thing. And the thing is, and I found out that there's a whole lot of brothers who experience this,
Right.
but we don't talk about
We
it.
don't talk about
We
it.
go with that, with the whole thing, one out of every four black families are born without a male involved in the process. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily true.
Mm.
Actually, it's not true. When you look at the data and the surveys that have been conducted time and time and time again, they redo surveys just to disprove the previous survey, but it
Right.
always come out the same.
Right.
We're there, we are present. But what's critical is we need to be involved in the birthing process, talking with the doulas, talking with the midwives, learning more about what's going on, and it should be an active part of our daily conversations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So definitely come out to this. Is once again 1500 Main Street, Palmuso is the second floor. Everybody should come out. I know the space is limited space, but we still can provide. I mean, we can get chairs for you to come in here. And it's crazy that you're doing this because you basically have, we want to kind of say it's DMOS takeover weekend at Palmuso because not only does DMOS have one event, two events, he has like three events back to back to back, which in celebration of Black History Month, I guess, but also in the celebration of the programming aspect that you have promised that you could do for Miss Hood. You bring to Miss Hood. So tell us, so from the doula, so there's something for the mothers. Now you go from the mothering portion of it, which is more of a lecture and an understanding, to a sound stage play, right?
Yeah, we're doing a self stage play. We have a stage play come in. We brought them to American International College in the past, but talking with Ayaba, we were supposed to bring it to City Stage, but the COVID spike prevented that. But it worked out because talking with the Ayaba Mandingo, who is he wrote it, he directs it, he produces it, and he also acts in it. It's a one man stage play. It's phenomenal. We decided we wanted to do something smaller and more intimate, and really reach out strictly to the community itself because his message is a social justice, cultural piece. It incorporates song, poetry, acting, the whole nine. Oh, art. He's painting a portrait throughout the entirety of the play. So the play is called Self Portrait Unframed. It's a stage play, and it takes place Saturday. This Saturday, so tomorrow's Black Mothering. Saturday is the stage play Unframed at Palmus Museum. So inexpensive, only a couple of dollars. We can't say price on the air, but we strongly encourage people to come out. And then there's this at the conclusion of the play, excuse me, there's an interactive dialogue with the audience, and which kind of draws the audience into the actual stage play itself. Right. So it's really, really, really dope. We're working with Carmen Mason. She's coming in to do a lot of the set design. We have Brianna. I forgot her last name. She works up at Garden of Eden. Shout out and kudos to her because way she presented to us in terms of how she's going to set up the whole area, it's going to be phenomenal. So people can go to my Facebook page, Daryl, Facebook.com/Daryl Moss, get that information. So tomorrow, Black Mothering is a panel discussion and open conversation with Black families. Saturday is the stage play. We encourage people to come out. Both will be broadcast live via Zoom so that people can comment as the play and everything goes on. But we prefer that people come in and share their energy in the place.
Right. And is there another? There was one more event.
There is one more event. Let me see if I can find it because I'm like half seen now, so I forgot.
But you know what? It's funny though, and I know you were talking that before about getting a hopper pass. This is something that even with the mothering event, that's a family event. So you can even bring your kids and you can bring your whole family to that event as well as the play. So not only are these events there for you, and it's programming to the whole family, you can bring everybody.
You can bring your grandmother, your grandfather, your auntie, uncle, your kids.
So you can't exclude anybody out and say, well, I can't bring the kids and all that. We encourage you to bring the whole family. And I know D-Moss, you always hook up the kids when they come. You don't need, D-Moss don't believe in charging your kids.
We don't charge kids. That's a violation.
But bring them though, because we don't want you to not bring your kid or have an excuse not to come. So just bring the family. We'll find out There's another room, interactive room. While what we can do, if you want us to, we can actually have somebody else go into the other rooms with the kids, and they can actually do some history.
Yeah, but we found that we've done it. We've done these events in the past when kids are in the room and they're quiet, they're listening. Actually, they're more attentive than the adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I say bring them the same way you bring your kids to church. Bring your kids out to community culturally educating,
Correct.
culturally educating
Right.
type of events.
Mm-hmm.
So next Thursday we have another. It's the dinner and dialogue. It's around politics. It's politics, policy, and the black community. And this one's critical because we want people to get an understanding of the political process. Most people have no idea. I hear people every day saying, "Nah, I don't do politics. Nope, yeah, I don't mess with that."
Well, you always, you know what? I hear that too. You cannot not, have an interest or not be involved in politics because it affects you every day of life,
Every day.
even at work.
Every day.
Work.
You have a car, you pay taxes on your car. You pay for your car, you pay sales tax. Then you turn around, you pay taxes on that same car every single year. That's politics. You put your garbage out front for the garbage man to pick you up, pick it up. That's politics.
Right.
You want your street paid, politics. You start a business, politics. Everything you do when you're driving at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's no one out on the road and the light turns red, what do?
You stop.
You stop. Why? Who dictates that? The political process.
Right.
So everything we do is political. If you try and build a business, and then those are the same folks.
And then if you run the light and you do get pulled over, it's a political process.
Political. Now you go, it's all political.
Yeah.
So the thing is, people need to understand the political process. You need to understand the role of a school community member, especially if you have kids in school, or if you just have neighbors who have kids in school. You need to be involved in that process. You need to understand it, know the do's, don'ts, the ins and outs. You need to know how to navigate that process. City councils, what's the role of a city councilor?
Mm-hmm.
We expect people to work miracles. It's like, no, their job is really to oversee zoning or ordinance and provide oversight for the financial process for downtown and city halls across the country.
Yeah, and I want to say that that's a great point that you bring up, D-Moss, because a lot of times we call them for things. It might be personal to us. We might call them for things that they might not be able to impact. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, the people are calling. Well, you should be calling them really for support instead of for action. A lot of times,
absolutely.
A lot of time. But the thing is what you're saying is the understanding and definition of really what they can do. So that's our fault as a community for not even entertaining or not even coming to this event Daryl is putting on, because there right now it's clarification and understanding, and that's what life is about: clarification and understanding.
Right. So we're gonna have folks, school community members sitting on that panel. Latonia Monroe Naylor. City councilors Justin Hurst and Tracy Whitfield sit on the panel. We have state rep Bud Williams. And just so people understand, sometimes we're like, especially in Springfield, we're all it's only in Springfield. No, this ain't no Springfield thing. This political process is all throughout the country. Right. So whether you live in Springfield, Hartford, Waterbury, New Haven, Bridgeport, and work your way all the way down the Southeast Corridor, you're dealing with the same political obstacles to success. Mm-hmm. Because we don't know how to navigate the process. Right. We don't understand the interplay between the financial industry here in the city of Springfield and the political process. Right. There's so much interplay. They go hand in hand. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, because rich work with the politicians they need the financing, the bankers, they need the political influence, and they make moves. You have to learn to get a better understanding of the political process itself. Right. So we're also bringing the state representative Bobby Gibson. Me and Rob Jones went to college with him at Southern Connecticut. He is now a state rep in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Alderman Vernon Maxwell. Alderman is like equivalent to, he's an alderman in the city of Waterbury, Connecticut, which is equivalent to being a city councilor in Springfield. Okay. So people need to understand these roles. They need to understand the processes. How do you move if you're dealing with tax title? How do you move through the process to understand how to save your home? Right. If you start a business and you have a building code inspector who's at your door every single day. Right. Who do we call? How do we utilize them to our advantage? Mm-hmm. On the state level, Bud Williams is coming in. Bobby Gibson is coming in. What exactly is their role? Their job is to bring back dollars and resources. Right. So people see, Bud Williams, and they're like, they're asking for, my son's in jail, my lights are off. That's not his role. Right. But if you have an organizational entity that needs funding, you can lobby him for earmarks and state funds and state contracts. That's how you utilize these people. I'm just
Right.
giving examples. I'm not saying to
No,
do
but
that.
it's clarifying, and I
Right.
think it's very important that you do give these examples, is because a lot of times they might be wrongly accused and wrongly labeled when that's not really what their job is. It's just like, if Daryl Moss is the producer of this show, and I come in and I tell him, Daryl, I want, hey, I want this, I want the show to done this way, and I want it this way, but yet I fire you because you're not doing what your job is, and that wasn't a good analogy. But what I'm saying too, if I come in here and I act realistically, Daryl, hey, we're gonna go 4 hours instead of going the regular hour we have. That's unrealistic.
Let me say it like this: you would not go to your mechanic and ask for a slice of a side of beef.
Right,
You're not going to go to your carpenter and ask him to do your electrical work.
right,
It's the same thing with elected officials. You need to understand their role. You need to understand everything that they do. You need to know, what city departments, what state departments come through which elected officials, so that you know how to access them and navigate them.
yeah,
If I need my car, if you need your car fixed, and I'm like, well, you'll call my man Joe. He puts up drywall.
right,
What that got to do
right,
with your car?
right.
We've had elected officials who are accused of not doing anything, but they're busting their butts every day to do something.
Right.
You just don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know what is isn't that a testimony to us? Is that maybe we asking them to do the wrong things instead of getting the right things, especially when it comes down to like finance?
we wonder why we don't move forward.
Right.
We're always on this social justice kick. Social justice is critical, but the central thesis of everything is economic development.
Right.
It's all economics. So are you saying down with the police? In the meantime, we lost. Think about when I moved to Springfield, we had black businesses. From the time you got to the top of the hill all the way up,
Correct.
the vast majority of them are gone. Years ago, about 8, 9, 10 years ago, whenever it was, when they did the Boston corridor, and they redid, State Street all the way up Boston Road, and they eliminated all the parking except for the white institutions. American International College maintained their off-street parking. There were a couple of other businesses that maintained their parking. But every other black business, they all lost their parking.
Correct.
So, which forced a lot of those businesses to close down. When people should have been going to those municipal-led meetings, they didn't go. Nobody felt it was important enough. Then people go, well, State Rep Bill Swan is the reason why we don't have businesses no more. When he was a state rep, we lost everything. No, it had nothing to do with that. It has more to do with our political involvement,
Right.
Learning how to navigate the process to save what little we have. Historical homes, people are losing their homes because code violations, not keeping everything, up to code, wrong paint, wrong this, wrong that. They weren't allowed to do certain things on their property. But then AIC comes along and says, yeah, we're going to buy those 5 historical homes. We're going to tear them down. And we're going to build parking lots. And it's okay. So if you don't know who to fight, then you don't know how to fight.
Right.
So this thing is called politics. Back to the event. It's a Black History program. It's called Politics, Policy in the Black Community, because we need a better understanding of the political process. We need a better understanding of policy, what it is, what it isn't. So we have some really dope political folks coming in. So if you're coming from, the Bloomfield, Windsor area, Bobby Gibson's going to state rep. Bobby Gibson will be in. You can ask him all the questions you want. Bud Williams, ask him about what legislation he drafted and presented. Ask what he endorsed and why. This is the time to ask those questions. Justin Hurst is going to be the former city council president. You could ask him every question. What have you supported? What have you done? Tracy Whitfield, same thing. So we need to create forums where we can bring our elected officials before the jury,
right,
and ask them about what they've been doing and what's going on, and more importantly, what can we do to help you? Because an elected official is nothing without a body of folks to stand on his platform.
Right.
So when he says, "Listen, I want A, B, and C done," and if A, B, and C ain't done, well, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I use my influence. I'm gonna get my people in here, and we're gonna change that. Similar to what we did with that historical commission a few years ago.
Right.
We had to reach out to the community. We educated them on everything that had to get done. We mobilized them. We got them there, and we won. We can do that every day, all day, if we utilize our resources correctly and effectively.
Right. Now, if so all these events that we have mentioned that D-Moss is doing within the next week and a half, if a lot of people will come up to me or they'll come up and they'll say, how can we help? Well, I'm pretty sure we can use sponsors to these events. So if you want to sponsor, you want to give an email or something, if you're looking for a sponsor, can you give me an email or something? Sponsor. What you can do is you can sponsor these events, because these events, we want to continue these events to go on, But as also as a sponsor, we would like your representation and influence the people that you might know that you might do business with to actually come to these events as well. So, do you have an email you want to give out?
Yeah, they give me a Moss at Gmail.
Moss at gmail.com. Once again, that's Moss at gmail.com. One of the things that we need to do a lot more is we need to sponsor we need events. We need to sponsor them. We need to support them, and we need to get 100% behind all of the stuff that's going on. A lot of times we don't do that. The events going on, we always say we don't heard them, we don't hear about them. But a lot of things sometimes it's not just about word of mouth. It's about sponsoring and then you spreading the word as well. And also with this broadcast, this is going live on 90.7 WTCC, and it's also live on StreamYard, and it's going through Facebook. So share this as many times as you want to. Share it to people that you think that can be interested in it. We have the doulas, we have the one man stage play, and then we have the forum on politics. There's something right there. Actually, you just put like a buffet, a round table, a buffet for a lot of interest in the community. It's not the same old, same old. You put together a buffet just now for the community.
Right. And we're not done. There's still one more. There's still one more. And I just got a text that said they can't really hear us that well. So if you see me moving around, I'm just trying to make some adjustments. There we go. We might be a little better now, hopefully. So Kurt T, if you listen, shout out to my man Kurt T.
Shout out Kurt T.
The legendary Kurt T. Please send me a text. Let me know if you can hear us better now. I want to make sure that people hear us. I don't see your lights flashing. My apologies about that.
What about master control? Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more in there. Okay. All right.
Okay. So hopefully that works a little bit better. I see it lighten up a little bit. So we have one more. Can I share the last one? The last one is called it's at
you got another one?
Yeah, there's one more. And you know what, people, I don't want you to think it's real. Please don't, we're breaking it down for you, but please don't think that these are like academic type of events,
right.
Because they're not. You'll be shocked at how entertained you will be by the information that you're receiving.
But even in that case, what you just said before you announced the last event, how often do you go to events where you have midwives and doulas and you talk about the information? How many times in this city where you have one man stage play that focused on us? How many times in the city that we really talk about politics,
right,
and understanding? How many times? So even that it's not academic, but it's also about educating. No, also about clarifying too.
Absolutely, because you know why, and I say that because typically when these types of panel discussions take place, they're normally led by academics or social service agency folks.
You an academic?
No, I'm not academic. I'm from Berkeley Heights. I'm from Berkeley Heights. I ain't academic. I am. I might be intelligent, but I ain't no academic. And no disrespect to any academics out there. Right. But I just want to say we want to make sure that people understand. I don't want people to think you to come out and get bored. We've started doing the dinner and dialogues together. Yeah. And folks have a good time, man. It's like you're educated, you're informed, you're entertained. Just the comedy that we bring to serious. I mean, that's the beauty of being Black. The comedy that we bring to serious subjects. Man, it's something that you should see in a meme. You get the laugh courtesy of Black History Month because we make light of things so that people can better digest it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about like the Dinner and Dialogue series is it's just what it is, what it says. It's dinner and dialogue. So you have a lot of the community input, and even if somebody came there with the perspective of what we were talking earlier, with not the understanding of what the role of a state rep is, they leave out of there with a little bit clearer understanding of really what the purpose of why you even put this on, and that's actually why you put it on.
That's why we put it on.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember when we had the Renaissance Art Space. You did a few of them, the roles in politics, when you had Mr. Swan down there. Yep. And there was a lot of clarification that came out of there when he spoke. And those why the Dinner of Dialogues, I mean, one of the things I got to commend Daryl, and I'm not saying it because he's sitting right here, but it's like beyond anything. I mean, this is like beyond what people are doing around here, because you're actually putting the people who did the work into the place where they explain where
Right.
if they don't know the person, it would be some
Right.
communication and not clarified.
When you're dealing with popular personalities, man, you often feel as if they're not engageable. I can't just walk up to Andrew Keaton and ask him that question. But if we create opportunities for folks to interact with one another, it works out a whole lot better. And so we're going.
Is good too.
And that's the thing. If
you got good food.
If there's any restaurant, we're still working on that part for tomorrow and Saturday. If there's any restaurant owners, any caterers who would like to donate some time and resources, well, I mean, because of the COVID situation, we the capacity in the room is like 125. Right. So we're looking at, if we get 50 people in the room, we have a great crowd. We're going to try and broadcast it as best we can over the internet so that people can watch it in the comfort of their homes. But there's nothing like having people in the room so you're talking to people. So it's free and open to the public. The stage play costs a few dollars. Trust me, when I say it's not a lot, you can count the dollars on both hands. Hint.
But it's worth this, because with all programming aspects, and even with the use of the facility that you use, everything costs. Nothing is free.
Nothing is ever free.
But as well as your time, I mean, you make interest what you want to make interest. But for what the 4 shows that D Moss just put forward from you.
Oh, I didn't even tell about the last one yet.
Okay, my bad.
No, it's my bad too. I started talking about.
I know we started. I mean, but I'm just excited, man, that the thing's going. But the last one is.
And shout out to my man Charles Stokes. I see him out there. He's commenting. He actually helped to. I don't even know if you realize it, but he actually helped to inspire this last one. It's called Invisible. It's Black men and mental health. It's discussion is part of a campaign to open up dialogue about mental health in the Black community.
That's much needed.
Right. It's time that we take care of ourselves. I mean, we put this mask on. What Paul Lawrence Dunbar say? I wear the mask that grins and lies. It's not only in terms of how we deal with white society. It's also in terms of how we deal with ourselves in terms of interpersonal type of relationships. Yo, D, you good? I can be going through hell. And the first thing I say is, yo, man, I'm good, man. How you doing? And on the inside, it's like there's a tornado happening and I'm spiraling out of control. So when we talk about mental health, specifically with Black men, because, our community, our families have issues and we need therapy across the board anyways, 9 times out of 10. But brothers, we need that help because we're not expected to break. We're not expected to fracture. We're not expected to fall. We ain't expected to cry. We ain't expected to defend ourselves. And the list goes on. And all we do is suppress stuff. And we never get a chance to, we don't really utilize any of the existing supports and resources for outlets. So, and then in the case of Orlando Taylor III, who we had the mental health services available for him, he'd still be with us. Right. And we wouldn't be dealing, we wouldn't have a family that's still grieving. Right. So this is about Black men and mental health. So what we did was I had a conversation with Keith Dodds. He's a clinical psychologist. Nice. And a doctoral candidate. Right. So you cannot question, and these brothers on about the list, you cannot question their credentials because they're all certified. They have the academic credentials. That's another thing. Folks are like, well, who's leading it? Who do you have as panelists? And it's like, we have so many qualified people. Oh my God, this was a field day asking people because everybody was like, yeah, and they all had recommendations. So I'm gonna run it down to you.
But even that, before you get to the names, I think that's one thing we need to stop doing because if it's white people coming in there, we never question who's on the panel and their credentials, even if they went to the University of Hung Ho or whatever, we'll just accept that. But when it's our people, we got to get digging deep into them. Is this validated? So we need to stop that because we just got as much Black qualified candidates as they do too. And and this is a testimony to you again because you're putting this on with our people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, if it's African centered, we had to start with the African Diaspora Mental Health Association. Shout out to Gary Porter. Coming from Hartford, Connecticut, from our people clinical services, we have Abdul Rahman Muhammad, dope brother. My brother from another brother, LaRon McClain. Some of y'all might recognize the name. He was a former 2-time Pro Bowler with the NFL Baltimore Ravens. Michael Chief Peterson. He's a dean of students for New Britain Board of Schools. Who else we have? We have my boy Rob Jones, of course. He's a father, mentor, and he's going through the therapy route.
I want to say this though. I got to say this. When we would when D-Moss came to me actually, and he talked about doing stuff at the museum, D-Moss was like, "We gotta do some programming down there." It's like, cool. Within a couple of hours, he had all the 4 programs that he wanted to do down there already. Which is no, this is a true story. This is a true story. He was like, "Oh, we got this, we got that, we got this, we got this." And he kept going. He was like, "Oh, we can do this, we can do that." So I want to say, I mean, kudos to you because I'm just sitting back looking at the time when we were sitting there, and it's like you had all of this stuff in place, but it's a testimony that even with putting it in place, sometimes it's the right people that you have, and you already had the names and all that. Because you're like, Drew, what if we bring up McClain? Remember the brother from that used to play with the Baltimore Ravens? Absolutely, D-Moss, absolutely. But it's just a testimony that even as you plan out and put these things together, that you have the capability and the resource to say, hey, look, let's go here. And Paul Musso's providing the space as well. So, I mean, just kudos to that, man. Because it was funny how you did it. It was like boom, 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 boom. I thought we was just there to talk about one event or two events. Daryl wants to do about 4 or 5 on you.
I don't believe in meeting to meet again, to meet again, to meet again, to meet again, to get stuff done. It's like, if we're going to do it, let's get it in. So Charles Stokes asked the question online, can community help with food? Listen, man, if people want to donate food, as long as you can cook and your house is clean, absolutely, because it's dinner and dark. And it's like the breaking of bread is so important in our community. Always has been, man. So sometimes we spend so much time trying to focus on assimilating into a mainstream society that never really embraces that we forgot all the really good things about ourselves.
Right. And it's and that's so much important. I got to give a shout out to Jalil G. Dumpson. Today he spoke to our kids today, and he has the shield sharpen steel.
Every Sunday.
Was talking, well, it's every other week.
He's on the panel too, Joe Dumpson. Yes, sir.
So the reason why I brought him up, because today I had him speak with some kids at the alternative school, but he brought up something that you just said about we're expected not to break. We're expected to be here. We're expected not to cry like we don't have issues. And when we get together as brothers and we talk and break bread, a lot of that stuff comes out, whether if you're there just to help another brother or I'm there to help another brother, and then we hear what people have to say. So I want to say on the light of that, every first Saturday of the month, we meet at Palmuso, then they meet at the gym on the third Saturday. Is it
Saturday or Sunday?
It's Saturday at Palmuso, and then it's 2 weeks the following Sunday at the gym.
Okay.
So I want to say the groups have been off the charts, and it's just been really ground. And you talk about mental health. There's nothing like mental health when you're around a group of brothers crying and sharing their stories and actually helping each other. Because we getting callbacks. Hey, brother, how can I do this? How can I do that? How can I help this thing? So I think it's very powerful. So I'm definitely looking forward to what you're trying to do.
It's gonna be cool. And I neglected because I asked Joe Dumpson after we did the flyer, but Joe Dumpson is also a part of it, and I'm glad.
Well, the real reason why he down at Joe. I mean, Jaleel will tell you the real reason why he down at Palmuso anyway. That's the meeting. Because you told him to connect with us.
That was the meeting I missed.
No, but you told him to connect with the guys because they have space too. Yeah. So I mean, and on every meeting, he always brings up your name. Always brings up D-Moss' name. He always say, if it wasn't D-Moss, I wouldn't be down here, which is true. So so shop once again. It's just about connections, and resource and making it happen, and that's powerful. So with this dinner and dialogue, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And that's my man, Keith Dodds. That's my man.
Keith is good. Keith, his whole family. I told him I'm gonna be an honorary Dodds. Maybe they'll give me a degree. But that takes place. So Invisible Black Men and Mental Health takes place March 10th, 7 p.m. Again, most of everything with the exception of the stage play is free admission.
Right.
And people need to understand when Carter G. Woodson first started talking about Black History, creating Black History Day back in 1926. I hear a lot of people saying, they gave us the shortest month of the year. People need to understand, first and foremost, we created that day. Carter G. Woodson and his folks created that day. I forgot the name of the organization he was a part of, so that we would have a day. Mm-hmm. It extended to a week because it was so popular. Right. We created that week. Mm-hmm. Went to a month because we felt it belonged a month. So please stop giving credit to other people for things that our people created for our benefit. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, I remember back in the 1960s on a Black History tip. We weren't allowed to go to school. And I'm a 60s baby. And it's crazy. After he died, I don't think we ever went to school on his birthday. And this is before it became a national holiday. And so people are like, well, they gave us Dr. King. Mitch McConnell, we said, well, we gave you Dr. King's birthday. No, you didn't.
Mhm.
We weren't going to school on that day.
We
I don't
wasn't
know how
going
it
to.
was in
We never
Springfield.
went to school.
We
Yeah.
weren't allowed. My mother would play them old 33s of Dr. King's speeches. So what I'm telling people is, during this month and every month of the year, man, create and own what you do.
Mhm.
Stop giving our intellectual property
Correct.
away to other people. The other thing is when we talk about Black History Month, people make it about names, dates, places, times, and inventions. We did more than invent. Man, we created a whole complete vibe.
Mhm.
What we haven't focused on, though, is the mental health aspect of who we are. So when we celebrate us, we have to be able to celebrate all of us.
Mhm.
Michael Jackson, we could talk about him being the greatest Black performer or the greatest performer of all time, but we don't talk about Michael Jackson, the man, and how frail he was on the inside. That dude can rock fire, an audience of 30, 40,000 people with the snap of a finger,
Mhm.
but he was crumbling on the inside. Mike Tyson talks about, he go in the ring, knock the crap out of people, but he was spiraling on the inside. So I think it's time that we begin to take care of us, take care of ourselves, the inner selves. And if we don't self-heal, if we don't spread that healing energy, I'm gonna tell you right now, we're always gonna be celebrating the shell of who we are, or celebrating our shadows and not ourselves.
Right.
So we have to do better. And Andrew, thank you for letting me take this time to talk about some of the things that we're gonna be doing.
No, it's good. So listen, 90.7 WTCC is Respect for Life show. Brother Andrew, Brother Johnny, he'll be back next week. But I just want to say we have these 4 events for you guys to definitely check out starting tomorrow. 7 o'clock p.m.
7 p.m.
7
Yes,
p.m. Starting tomorrow, 7 p.m. You can go on the page, D Moss's page right here. Make sure you share all of the flyers and the information. Come out and let's dialogue, man. Let's have some fun.
And donate some food. Bring, hit your favorite restaurant and tell them we need food.
Yeah,
because it costs money and I ain't got it.
Definitely. Definitely. So we definitely got it. If you know a caterer, if you're a caterer yourself and you listening to the broadcast or you listen to later, let's hit us up and make sure we'll get you in free.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And for the stage play, real stuff. I know we run out of time. For the stage play on Saturday, if you don't have, those few dollars to get in, just inbox me on Facebook, facebook.com/DARRYLMOSS. Just inbox me and say, brother, I just don't got it. And I'll make sure you have tickets to get in. I'd rather have a packed house full of people who are really going to enjoy it. If we take a financial loss, it is what it is. And I know my girl going to be mad hearing me saying that. But the thing is we just want to make sure people get in. If you got the money and you say you don't have it, that's just foul. But if you don't have it, real talk, just hit us up. We'll get you tickets. We'll make sure that if you want to see this play, we'll make sure that you see it. Everything else is free though.
Right. And last, hit them up with the information there, the number and the Facebook page and where to get tickets if you got to get tickets.
You can hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Daryl Moss, DARRYLMOSS. And just inbox me or send me an email, Daryl Moss, DARRYLMOSS@gmail.com.
Okay. And also, I appreciate D Moss for he's also our producer now, new producer of the show, the Respect for Life show. So we really appreciate him taking the time out of his schedule to produce our show, though. So that's going to do it for us. And peace.
Peace. Yep, we still here. Hold on.